Hello, everybody. We are delighted to be with you today. We've got something really special for you guys. So, today we are covering how to generate repeatable, reoccurring revenue in your recruitment business. Now, Jane, I love this topic because I know this is a really big challenge for recruitment business owners and recruitment businesses. That consistent cash flow, the amount of people that we have talking to us about how do we generate that consistent cash flow? Because, that traditional recruitment model, whilst it has benefits, is also riddled with its challenges that people have to navigate. And I think one of its problems or inabilities is actually to serve a business that steady, reliable flow of reoccurring revenue, because it feels very much, doesn't it, like the traditional model is what I call that hand-to-mouth model, where I do the work and then I get paid. So it's like I'm constantly hunting, I'm going out there, I'm hunting for, which is why we often feel very vulnerable and reliant on the external world, because there's a lack of security in the traditional recruitment model. It makes people feel uncertain, it leaves us out of control, and it certainly doesn't deliver us a predictable flow of revenue. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. It's that fear, isn't it? At the start of every quarter, no matter how good your quarter was, you wipe the board, you go again. It's tiring, dare I say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can remember for many years, I would have that experience where, particularly at this time of year, you're setting your budgets for the year ahead. And I'd be thinking, okay, right, who have I got in my team? I'd be setting my budget. I'd be feeling really motivated. Next year, it's all about next year. We're really going to make it happen next year. And then suddenly, let's say by month 3, month 4, somebody would leave, and I'd suddenly have this additional 150, 250K, sometimes more than that. But it's like, oh my God, that's just literally walked out the door. How am I going to make that up this year? How am I going to suddenly pull, 200 grand out of the sky, or even bring somebody else new into my business that's going to be able to deliver at that level?
Yeah.
I had that horrible sinking feeling. I literally used to feel like, I can remember saying in board meetings sometimes, well, I might as well rip the budget up. I've just kissed my year goodbye. How on earth am I going to make that up? Yeah. So I would love to know if anyone's listening to us right now, this is what we're talking about today, that monthly reoccurring revenue. If that is something that you would like to know more about, obviously stay tuned with us for this episode and this session, because we're going to be diving into something that's going to give that to you. But also, who else experiences that, where you feel that hand to mouth, that vulnerability on the external world of I constantly have to go hunting, and every month, every year, I'm starting from zero, and it feels like I might as well be starting a new business every year because I've got no stability there. And this is what happened for me for many years, until I changed the model, until I changed the process. And the good news is there is a way in which, and it is a new way, but there is a way in which you can reset your business up so that you have a model that works on delivering repeatable, reoccurring monthly revenue. I'm talking about revenue that comes in, month out. It means you start your year knowing exactly where your revenue is coming from, which clients it's coming from. You actually can pinpoint what roles it's going to come from. And you can have a detailed plan that you and your team are executing. So that's going to give you peace of mind, reliability, and predictability. And this is what we call the ultimate model. And there are key parts to this model that when you implement in your business, that is what you can get. Now, today we are going to give you one of the parts of that system. So that is what is on offer for you today. Now, if this is something that you want to know more about, so as you're listening to this session, or if you're even leaning in now saying, do you know what, hands up, I would like to go deeper into how I implement the full ultimate model in my business, how I get that monthly recurring revenue, drop us a yes in the chat box. and we will be able to reach out to you to give you more information about this. And the reason this is so valuable is, I'll give you an example, is when I made these changes in the business, this shifted my average billings per head to 153K per head in 12 months. And that's what we're going to share with you today. And we're actually going to give you the exact framework of how you can put the first part of this system into your business, or one of parts into your business. So here we go, guys. I'm going to share my screen. Let's talk about how to generate monthly repeatable recurring revenue in your business. So this is what we're going to be covering today in the next 30 minutes. We're going to give you that step-by-step framework on how you can conduct effective service reviews to generate recurring revenue. We're going to give you one of those exact frameworks that you can put into your business right now. And you'll have heard Jane and I, if you've been following us in December, you would have heard us talk about the benefits of service reviews and how they can make such a big difference to your monthly recurring revenue, but also your performance with your clients, making you way more stickier. We're also going to be looking at the smartest move in your playbook, like harnessing your existing client relationships. Why is this so important and integral in your business development strategy? And the third thing we're going to cover is that ultimate service called structure. So we're going to give you that structure that will help you go deeper and will strengthen your client relationships beyond the typical call. And again, I'm going to give you something right at the end of this session. So stay tuned if you want that script. All right, so Jane, let's dive in. Now, this stat, oh my God, and this is a true stat. Existing clients are between 60 to 70% more likely to buy from you than your new clients. Now, if that doesn't get our attention,
what will?
Then, yeah. And this is such an interesting stat, because we know that to generate a new client, if you're going to go out and you're going to generate a new client, just think for a minute about how long does that take you, knowing right now, we know that the fortune's in the follow-up, and to go and win a new client will take on average anything between 12 to 24 months for that client from a prospect to actually become a buying client. So when you think about that process, think about, first of all, the cost implication of going and getting a new client. Like, what is, and you may already know this, but it's a good stat for you to be aware of. What's your cost per acquisition of a new client? What does it actually cost you for you to go out and to get a new client? So that's, you've got to go and search for them, you've got to engage with them, you've got to nurture them, you've got to go through that time and energy and process before they become a client. So what's that cost per acquisition? Versus if you know that actually 60 to 70% is the likelihood that those clients, your existing clients, will buy from you, then actually what is your process for you to do more business with your existing clients already? And we're going to talk to you about a way in which you can do that today. But that's what is the invitation to you today, because when we spend time and we make our existing clients a key priority in our sales strategy, it is a very, very simple and effective way, and cost effective, but a smart way for you to increase your revenue.
Can I interject here as well, Katie? Sorry, just a thought that occurred to me, because this came up in a couple of my client calls this week. And there seems to be an underlying question in the recruitment industry of not necessarily nurturing our existing clients, but this belief that if our clients have bought from us once, that they will buy from us again without us having to do anything, because our service should speak for itself. Now, I hear that, because that's how I would feel. I've done such a great job for you. Why would you ever go anywhere else? But the harsh reality at this stage is it doesn't happen. And if you've got a strong BD, because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to BD new clients. Other recruiters are trying to BD your clients. So if we're relying on, we've done a great job, so hopefully they'll come back to us, probably that's misguided. And that's what we're going to look at today, is how to implement a process so our existing clients are nurtured and loved as we go along, but we're also blocking out our competition.
Yeah, I love that, Jane. That's such a good point, actually, because I would have agreed, and I would agree with that. There would be an element of you that would think that those clients would come back to you. It's the same way in which, isn't it? We expect candidates to return our call or come back to us.
Yeah.
And we expect our clients to tell us everything that's happening in the recruitment process and to keep us informed, when of course they don't. We have to ask, we have to ask the question, don't we? But we could see how that belief could easily be in play for us. And this is the thing, because like the biggest influencer of buying decisions is trust. We have to gain trust. And so the best way for us to do that is to lean into those existing clients and to demonstrate the value that we've already delivered to them. But they're actually more likely to get a fee increase with a client that you've already got history with, you've already done great work with. And so it's easier around terms of business. But also, it's just way easier, isn't it, to develop and deepen that conversation, to then look at other markets or temp or perm, depending on which model your business works in, whether you're temp or perm or both. It is very easy off the back of an existing relationship to upsell those clients. And so this really needs to be our primary method of doing business development naturally in our business. That's the first thing. So then let's look at, well, why would we want, for example, like why is it important for us to do business development with our existing clients as well? But what's the method in which we can do that? And the easiest method for us to develop relationships and to get repeatable business from our existing clients is to do those service reviews, is to have a part of our process, a part of our sales function, is to actually do service reviews with our clients on a regular basis. Because when we think about it, and this has certainly happened over COVID, often we'll have little or no face time with our clients. And that leads to what I call a service level relationship. It means the trust is at a lower level because you've got that missing ingredient of emotional connection that you can get if you could meet that client face to face. So ideally, we want to have a route. We want to have a reason in which we can do those service calls face to face. Now, I also appreciate it might be that your business is international. It might be that, you're not able to go and see those clients. Okay, well, Zoom is a great alternative to that, and you can still get that ingredient of emotional connection but we want to move our recruitment from bringing that transactional service, which is only when you have a vacancy, Mr. Client, that I speak to you, to giving a much deeper level of service where we can really get the client to experience the magic that you perform for them. We can showcase your abilities. We can go way beyond supplying a CV or matching a candidate to a set of criteria. We can actually show behind the scenes of what is important to a client to know. It's like, we're actually going to show you, Mr. Client, all the work that we do on your behalf and what goes into that process, and actually give them a greater understanding of how we work on their behalf and the value that we deliver. So that's why we want to use service reviews as a really good way of us doing it. And it also, it's a missed opportunity if we don't, because often we'll have a limited understanding of a client's challenge unless we really understand their problems at an in-depth level. And to get to that in-depth level, again, we want some quality time, dedicated time, really understanding what those problems are and allowing us to really dig underneath the surface of that outside of just talking about a vacancy. I'm going to add something there, Jane.
Can you tell, Katie?
I can.
what I've been talking, I mean, you know, I love service level reviews. They're a really lovely and, dare I say, easy way to win business. But I've been talking about these a lot in my academy and with some of my clients. And one of the things you mentioned there about the face-to-face and Zoom or Teams, etc., is I would say that there's been a bit of natural resistance in some markets to go, my clients won't do that. My clients will not meet me face-to-face. And I think it's quite important to address here because as a, you know, whenever I hear it, I kind of think, would they? Will they? Or is that, how much truth is there to that statement? And, or is it that actually somebody used it in the tech market recently and said, look, in tech, they don't meet face to face. And I was thinking, that's quite a big sort of like sweeping gesture of the whole market. Is it just that we've heard no so many times that we've started to preempt the answer? Or is it because we're asking, please, can I have a meeting? As opposed to the process is we now meet and kind of commandeering it. So I suppose to anybody listening, it's just being aware of your language. When I used to call it defending the client, when you start to believe everything the clients tell you instead of trying to impress on them a better way of working. Because as a recruiter, I wouldn't work unless I could meet you face to face. If you wouldn't meet me face to face, then I would walk away from the business. And because of that, a lot of clients would agree to meet me face to face. So it's just been really conscious of the language. When you start saying things like, we're going to do service level reviews, but we're going to do them by phone because our clients won't meet us on Teams or Zoom, I would really challenge yourself. Is that true? How am I asking? How could I better ask? What's the benefit? Because that eye-to-eye contact, certainly if your client's resistant to it, because it also means they're not getting face-to-face contact with many other people. So your relationship will go from like here to whoosh up here if you can get on a video. Does that make sense? Because as you know, I'm a little bit cold infused today, so my words don't come out in the right order.
Yeah, it does. How would you frame that for people? So if you were talking to a client, how would you frame that to get it on a Zoom versus a telephone call?
So I would act as if it is. So it would go, and again, this is scripted, guys. Anything that comes out of my mouth, I say this all the time. It's been scripted for so long that the words just flow. But it'd be, so Katie, what we do now is we've obviously placed Kate with you. Sorry, Kate, your name's on the Facebook comments. We've placed Kate with you. So the next stage is, in about a month's time, Katie, we're going to have a service level review. And typically that would be done by Teams. Have you got access to Teams? Amazing. What day would work best for you? Friday the 30th or Monday the 4th? Fabulous. We'll obviously get to see each other. That's really exciting. I've not met you yet. And boom, off you go. Clearly a little bit more prettier than how I just said it. That was very off the cuff. But but as if it is, like there is no compromise.
Yeah.
This is just what we do. The same way that we will send you CVs, because that's just what we do. It becomes part of the same process.
Great. Okay, brilliant. Thank you, Jane. Very useful. Right, let's go back to, all right, so let's go back to where we were. Okay, let's just talk for a minute about service reviews, because it's not just, I think this is also important, right? A service review isn't just, a once a year. This can be used for general client meetings, like once a quarter. So for example, in my business, we used to do them every quarter. It can be used for PSL reviews. It could be used, this process that we're going to share with you today could be effective for any meeting really, where you want to review elements of your terms like fees or exclusivity, or if you want to move your client, if you really want to start doing retained work with them, you can use this structure and this process to win retained off the back of contingent client, or to increase your fees, or to change your service offering with your client. It can also be applied to general client visits for existing customers. And it can be led by you. Here's the other thing. Who can do these calls? You can, obviously, like the business owner. And certainly for any major accounts that you have in your business, I would recommend the business owner takes the lead on that service review or that preferred supplier review. And the reason that I say that for like your major clients, and it's important for you to be involved, is because most clients want to meet their equal when it comes to meeting with their suppliers for this type of conversation. So I would make sure that you're leading all key account reviews, like the major ones for your business. Absolutely take your consultants who manage the account with you, and And also then you can be getting, your team can be doing this with their existing decision makers and line managers as well. So it's really, really good. So it can be done by you, it can be done by your team. And I would also recommend that you teach this process. Like Jane keeps, it will always bring us back to scripts, but literally, guys, this is a process that we script, that we use as a script, because it's easier for you to train people on, and it gives people way more confidence. But you also know you're absolutely going to get the result you want when you're running a client meeting if you use a proven framework. And, while we joke about it, Jane and I literally have been programmed in scripts, for the last 20 years that we've been in recruitment. And we joke about it because we feel like robots when we say a lot of what we say, but it is so ingrained, it unconsciously comes out of us. And so that is the way you want it to be.
Yeah, you have
it's like what?
It's like driving. You have to learn how to drive. You have to learn how to be a recruiter. And likewise, when you first learn how to drive, you do it very methodically, and you change gear and you go from first to second to third. And then sometimes now, like I drove last night, I'm actually not a very good driver, so it's probably not the best analogy, but sometimes you take shortcuts and realize that was the wrong idea. So same with everything we do in recruitment. What's the manual? How do we do this? And have we given our consultants the tools and the language to be able to do it? Because if we can pass those skills on from top down, you're going to create an incredible team. Here's the form. This is what we ask at a service level review. Go and read it, come back, we'll role play it, and then we'll go out. You can watch me do it, and the next one you can lead.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, that's a good point. You've led me on nicely, because the structure is designed to give you control of the meeting and the agenda right from the outset. So it's going to give you, and it's going to give your client this step by step. It's like an agenda that builds credibility and it builds value, and it's going to move you through the process nice and easily. So it's all about increasing the client's confidence and trust in you as their go-to expert. Now, what is going to make the difference? Here's some do's and don'ts. So the big difference between you nailing this and leaving every meeting, having achieved the intention that you want, is threefold. The first is you want to have a very clear outcome. In fact, I'm going to write this on here. I don't know if I've got it on here. So let me just change that color, cooler. So you want to have a clear outcome. So the first thing is you want to have a clear outcome of what your intention is before you go into the meeting. So what is your objective? What is your objective for the meeting? What do you want to happen? So that's the first thing. The second thing is that you need to do some prep beforehand. And the reason you want to do some prep beforehand is because you want to collate data and facts and figures on how you've performed and where you are saving the client time and money. Because we want to demonstrate that in the meeting. And so your prep is important because you're going to be preparing data. Now, this data, by the way, is simple. It's quick to collate. And you can get this probably off your CRM tool or your reporting tool.
Yeah.
But we want to get some simple data on showing your performance to that client. So it'd be things like, how many jobs have you taken? How many CVs or how many first interviews have you had with them? What's your conversion with them? And then you also want to look at the history of the people that you've placed. Are they still with them?
Yeah.
Because that is also the real value. What has that person gone on to do? What are they delivering for that business? Because remember, it's not about your fee. It's about the value of that individual in their business. That's the real cost of recruitment. And so this is critical. And then the third thing is your agenda, right? We want to set an agenda and we want to make sure we follow it. That's the other thing. We don't want to go in there and then not follow it. And I know that sounds really simple and basic, but if some of us with our shiny squirrelitis can sometimes go off track. And that's why the agenda and the step-by-step process is absolutely critical for people like me. Otherwise, I would go off all over the place and talk about all things nice, but not necessarily where I need to really help that client. Yeah, and then leave. Exactly.
We've had that classic meeting, haven't you, where you leave, you come back to the office and somebody goes, how was it? You go, oh my God, it was great. They'll definitely buy from us this year. And you're like, okay, what are you basing that on? I don't know. We just got on really well. It was great. So when are they going to be hiring? I've got no idea. We just got on really well. It was great. And then suddenly 12 months on, you're like, oh, like nothing came from it. So yeah, shiny squirrel.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I feel embarrassed. I can put my hand up and say, I did that. I used to do that, Jane. I can remember.
Ditto.
That.
Yeah, ditto.
Okay. All right. So let's talk the agenda, guys. Right. So what is the agenda? This is, and as I said, this is you and your client. It's either offsite, you could book it with a lunch. It could be, if you can get face-to-face with your client, obviously that's like number one, amazing if you can do that. If you can't, Zoom is the next best agenda. But next best setting. But here's the agenda that we want to follow. So both parties are going to have the opportunity to review progress. That's the point. It's two-way. You want to discuss, how things are going for you, and you want to present how your performance is, but it's also, this is a key opportunity for your client to question you, give you feedback, and then you can look at areas of improvement. So you're really going to walk away with some key specifics that are going to be introduced by you and your client. So you want to send this agenda to the client before the meeting. That's something else, by the way. You want to diarize the appointment so each party is clear what we're going to cover today in the meeting. There's no surprises, particularly for you as much as the client, but mostly for you. So I would send the agenda at least no later really than 3 working days before the meeting, in case the client wants to make any additions to that. Timing wise, I would say you need an hour. If you could do a bit longer, because you might, add a social to it. If you can be face to face with the client, even better. So here's the structure. So the first thing is you're going to set the scene. And when you set the scene, it's the purpose to the meeting. So you want to outline the purpose to the meeting, and we want to take control. So that's why we want to set the scene and set the agenda in that. That will only take you 1 to 2 minutes. Then you're going to move to taking that temperature gauge. So what is that about? Well, that's the temperature gauge on the business. So how's the business right now? What's working for you? What's not? Where are the areas that are not working for you? And what kind of results are you getting? We want to get specific here. We want to talk about departments. We want to talk about retention. We want to talk about onboarding. And we want to understand what their problems are and how that's a problem for you, for them. And specifically, how is it affecting or impacting them? And here we want to talk about not just the monetary impact, but also implications around time, around morale, around team, around other departments. And what's the consequence of not fixing these things? Now, the reason we want to talk about their problems up front before we present anything is because we want to understand what's going on for the client right now, because it means you can match back way better your conversation, what you're going to deliver to the client, if you know exactly what is going on for them right now. So how are you? How is your business right now? You're going to start top line, and then you can probe down and start to ask questions around this. Jane, anything to add to that on temperature gauge?
No, I think, well, I'm probably just going to repeat everything you've just said, but it's all about, what's happening for you now, what's your growth plans, what can you learn from, if you're doing a 12-month review, what can you learn from? But talking to people about their business over talking to them about their vacancies is a real step from being a recruitment agent to a recruitment consultant. It's getting under the skin of what's happening in the business and making yourself part of it. So although it's a 5-minute stage for this is where I really expect the client to give me quite a lot of information, which I can probably use in my need analysis and my pain points, because I'm going to listen to what they say and then move on.
Yeah, it's a good point, actually, because they kind of, one flows to the other very nicely, because the needs analysis is where you're going to dig under the surface of what's going on and how the business is performing. So that's where you can get into, And that's where naturally it will open up conversations around hiring or onboarding or performance of their PSL if they have one, or, what are the key problems that they are looking to get solved, and how specifically can you support them around that? So most of the time, literally almost any business problem is going to link back to personnel. It's going to link back to people. It's going to link back to, uncovering problems around the business and their business needs. So it's naturally going to flow into that area for you. So rather than you, like Jane's saying, rather than you ask the question about hiring at the beginning, we want to keep it about the business. Yeah. What's not working in your business for you right now? What are the blockers? And what are the blockers to you meeting your business objectives? That's the kind of question that you want to. How is it affecting you? How is it affecting your team? What's going to happen if you don't get that resolved? What have you tried so far?
Thing is, these can be really positives as well, Katie, because when you take the temperature gauge and if they look, everything's going great, like we're full guns ahead, we're set to double turnover this year, fantastic. So what problems is that going to cause you in terms of headcount? Like we can find problems where there are none, but because people don't always think about that, if my turnover is going to double, I'm going to need more staff. God, where am I going to get them from? What sort of people do I need? Do I need experience? Do I need inexperience? And then we can open up a whole can of worms and start to get them to think about their recruitment, not like 5 minutes before they need to hire, but actually months in advance. And that's where it comes to the reoccurring revenue. Because, if a client says at the start, we're looking to expand, great. So what problems will that cause in terms of headcount? Well, not problems, Jane, per se, but we will need to hire in about August. Okay, so talk me through that. Hire in August or hire for August? Because if it's for August, both you and I know that's probably January, February, March, April, May, June, July. That's about April that we need to start having more conversations. And that for us as a recruitment business is starting to predict our income. We know we're going to be hiring then. So we can get pain points from really beautiful areas and have really good conversations with clients, because I don't know about you, Katie, but I know when we've hired before and we'll go, we need somebody about Christmas, and we work in recruitment. And we're like, well, actually we don't. We need to start hiring in September. So, and that's the beauty of these types of conversations, is we start to act as a business consultant rather than a job taker.
100%. That's a really good point. And there you're talking about reverse engineering. And we talk about this a lot in our community. We talk about it a lot with our clients, but everything is reverse engineered, because you're right. When we're talking about recruitment, the client, we've got to also keep front of mind that the clients don't do the recruiting job like we do day in, day out. They don't have the same understanding of how long it takes to actually recruit somebody. They often feel that the recruitment is just the stage where they're interviewing.
Yeah.
And again, they don't even realize how long they've been looking for somebody. So, but we also know that's not the whole process. That's just a small chunk of the process in terms of actually how long it takes to find somebody. But it's not just that. Then they've got the notice period. Then they've got to start. Then we've got to arrange, offer and take references, etc. So we know that actually it takes anywhere between, probably at the moment, I'd say the average for most businesses is about 12 weeks to hire.
Yeah.
So you're looking at least, like you say, 3 months. So these are all educational pieces that we can really support our client in understanding, and that can become part of the stats and the figures that you give the client when you're talking to them, not just about how you perform for them, but what's going on in the industry. These are all added value information that you can provide to that client too. Okay, so let's go back to our agenda. Right, so then we want to showcase our results. And this is your performance. These are the facts, the figures. You might even have a handout that you're going to give to your client, or maybe you put a little presentation together, some simple slides of that data. And this is both your... Yeah.
Sorry, Katie. What we did in my last agency, which was brilliant, which got such great buy-in from clients. So I'll give you a scenario. So we would go out after every vacancy filled and we'd do a service level review. We would take all the data, put into, our EA used to do it, but it would have like a pie chart of where the candidates were approached. So referrals, LinkedIn, our CRM. Like we were just showing data. We'd then break down the volume of people we'd spoken to, the volume of people we'd competency interviewed, the volume of people we'd pre-screened in the middle, and how it had all filtered through the process. So we would literally, so the same way that a mechanic will break down your service in your MOT, this is what I did and this is what I've charged you for. This is what we would do in terms of our recruitment process for the client. So they could almost see, because obviously everybody thinks they're paying for the person, don't they? At the end of it, you know, when Kate walks through the door, that's got a 10 grand or a 5 grand price tag. Whereas no, you pay for the process of getting Kate to the front door from that point of view. So that's what we would break down. And even if it was one of those rare situations where you went and took the vacancy, you came back and you've got somebody sitting on the CRM and you match them and boom, you've made a placement in one of those beautiful 2 weeks. We would break down our CRM data. So say, this is how we looked at our CRM. These are the amount of people that we searched through. So, but it's showing the client the work and the love that's gone into that role. And again, it's showing clients what we do. Because if you say to a client in the street, oh, I'm a recruiter, do you know what I do? They'll go, yeah, you've got a cupboard behind your people, haven't you? And you just open it and they come out and then they come to my job, and some turn up and some don't. Where it's actually like, no, like we ask for referrals, we do social media, we try and form brands on social media so people come to us, we use the job sites, but we go back on the, you know, it's eternal. So actually, let's start telling clients what they're paying, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 grand. And certainly if you've got a client paying 5 grand and you want them to pay 6 grand, this is the data I'd be showing. How aware were you of what I do? How much does that surprise you? What sort of time investment do you think that would look like? And actually, I want to keep doing this for you, and I want to keep doing it for you exclusively. But we are going to have to tweak the price. Anyway, I've drifted into fee negotiation. But, you know, get in the data, make it look a bit pretty. Somebody else can do that if you're anything like me, that use any form of pretty stuff, and then show the client.
Yeah, 100%. Great. That's brilliant. Thank you, Jane. That is epic. Okay, so that's what we want to do on showcasing that. Next, we've got problem solving. This is where you're going to match back your expertise, solutions. Guys, here, case studies. Can't emphasize this enough, that testimonial matches are the strongest way to sell your service. So here you want to take them on that journey. You want to show them how you have solved that exact problem that they have right now, how you resolve that for another client. So you want to use those testimonial matches. Have three good, really testimonial matches in your back pocket all the time that you can pull on. And then we're going to move to the agreement and the next steps. Right, so we're going to get commitment, we're going to agree specifics with them, and we're going to agree time frame. So we absolutely want to walk away from that meeting with clear steps on what you've agreed with that client and what is going to change. And that might be, like Jane saying, that might be things in the process that you're going to improve upon. It might be tweaks. It might even be greater commitment your client's going to give you, or something. If you know the feedback hasn't been great to weigh with them, it could be something around that. But you're going to detail that. Now, I just want to talk retreat objectives, because you will have heard Jane and I talk about these. We talk about them a lot in our sales training as well. And these are what we call, so retreat objectives, what are they? They're your next best outcome from your initial intention for that meeting. So if your objective was to gain exclusivity, for example, and for whatever reason that couldn't be achieved that day, then what would be your next best outcome? All right, and it might be, for example, that whilst you couldn't get exclusivity solely, could you get it for one role? Or could you get it for 1 week? Or could you get it for 24 hours?
Yep.
You know, what can we get? So a retreat objective is the net outcome. That's what that is. And so if you go in with an outcome, think again, what are the kind of retreat objectives that I could walk away with? Because, and you can add these can be whatever you want them to be, by the way, but it's value for you. That's what it's about. And every time we talk to a client, we meet a client, we talk to a candidate, we meet a candidate. We want to, it's all about getting information. That's really what it is. It's a powerful way to incorporate into your business process a way in which you can make sure that you're always getting more information, and you're getting another reason for a follow-up. You're getting another reason to have a conversation with them. Okay. Now, post-meeting, let's just talk about that as well. because we've done all that great work. We don't want to leave it there. So post-meeting, what do we want to do? Well, follow up. You know, we want to thank them for their time, and we want to outline those specifics that we agreed, or those next steps and those time frames with them. You can also add organograms to your CRM. So if you go into a client meeting and you're able to get an organizational structure for that business, hey, put that on your CRM. We used to collect these. They're so useful when you know what the different departments are, then you know who the key decision makers are, you know who the influencers are, and you know who the people are that you want to call, who you want to develop relationships with. So we want to capture anything that will support your relationship and future conversations. And then we want to share that information internally because that's intellectual property, and it will support other people in the teams. It will support you to serve that client better. And then the final thing that we do, I don't know if you can see these. Can you see these okay, Jane? Can you see these on here?
Yeah, they're just a little bit black, but.
So follow up, capture notes, and information on your CRM. That's where we want to start getting used to it. Share.
Yep.
And then here's what I used to do. I love to do a debrief. So what went well? What could have gone better?
Yeah.
What am I going to change or tweak for next time? And then finally, and I haven't put this on here, like celebrate what you did with them. Celebrate, acknowledge your success. It doesn't matter how big or small it is. And if there's things that you learn from doing that process, you reset, you go, okay, I'm going to do this next time. I'm going to do this next time. So yeah, it is a great way. Yeah, and somebody's put in the chat, absolutely good time to ask for referrals. Oh my God, I love that. I think I even missed that off here. So thank you for that. Yeah, absolutely. This is a great opportunity to ask the client for referrals, particularly in that business or outside of that.
Yeah, it's putting your recruitment pants on, isn't it?
Okay, so recruitment pants on, I love it. So that, guys, is the process. So Jane, anything else you want to finish on that I might have forgotten?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just that vitality, really, of how important these are to your business. Think about all the time you spend thinking about new clients and new business development without nurturing what we have. So, and the more we get used to speaking to our clients when they're not recruiting, puts you in a stronger position for when they are.
Brilliant. So guys, if you have found this session useful, we love your feedback. Ultimately, it's all about implementation. Action precedes clarity. It's all about implementation. We can't wait to continue serving you on these sessions. We're committed to you. So please do let us know what else you would like us to cover. Mwah.
Signing off. See you next year.
Take care.